What up, everybody? Welcome to Wheel Talks. I'm Marty O'Connor, and this is my boy.
Sonny Casebound.
The show doesn't work out. Anyways.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our brand new edition of Wheel Talks. You know who this is. Because you watched the
Wheel
intro.
Talks, boys, baby.
Because you watched the intro.
Yeah,
The
we're
intro.
back.
Have you got good feedback from the intro?
Yeah, man, people love it.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
It kind of captures us and like our essence, I think, a lot.
yeah. I think we need a little bit more female flavor in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty dude-centric right now.
Very much. It definitely
Need some more female guests. If you guys want to be on the show, feel free to hit us up.
Please.
If you know somebody, let us know.
Yeah, we're looking for more guests right now. We're kind of hitting towards the end of the year, and we'd like to have some real epic, fun, exciting guests that are local though, because we like to have them on the show.
Yeah, for sure. But we got an exciting show today.
Yeah.
I know we say it every week, but
Yeah.
it's a topic that we kind of glaze over in our everyday lives. We don't really think about,
Right.
but it's something that's so prevalent.
Yeah, I think this kind of stems from, we were having a conversation the other day with a new friend, and it kind of made us realize how deep our conversations go, like just from the start. First time we meet somebody, we already have like a deep conversation. And we kind of want to help you guys because I think it's really developed our friendships because of how vulnerable we get right off the bat.
For sure. And, you could really weed out people that are all talk
Yeah.
right at the beginning. And I think where we're coming from with that is people that are all talk tend to just stick with small talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like they're not really bringing any value to the conversation, not really looking to get any value out of you. It's just like talking to talk,
Right.
as opposed to really, sharing and being authentic to one another and, really questioning like, how is this affecting you? Like, how are you doing? Instead of just like, oh, cool shirt, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this weather, the
Nice
fires,
mullet, bro.
Yeah, sick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, but so basically the conversation today that we're going to have with you guys is to eliminate the useless, mindless small talk. It literally gets you nowhere, and just by putting yourself out there, you'll find yourself in more meaningful conversations, which could either lead to more business connections, to better friendships, to more evolved relationships. So we're going to kind of navigate that today and show you guys how that works.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I think this crosses it transcends not just like demographics, but all the barriers in business that you're trying to jump through. If you're not really digging your heels into these conversations and really trying to find the meat of what is behind people, their mission, what drives them, you're not going to get to that deeper level. You're not going to be able to advance any of those things. And so I think for me, the first thing I want to talk about is just kind of how, I'm guilty of, the small talk because I think over time when you tell a story so many times, especially about like what happened to you, this, that, and the other, we tend to, chalk it up to this is just me telling my story again,
Right.
as opposed to someone hearing it for the first time that doesn't know you, and, every situation is different. You got to be, mindful of time and place and all of that. But really just, sharing with people from a place of authenticity as opposed to just like, yeah, I'm on a hot summer day. I took a dive and, I've been doing this in my life ever since and, blah, blah, blah. And, people still may find that like, kind of ooh and ah at what you're talking about. But is it really how you feel? Or is it just something that you've, over time developed as a canned response to when someone asks you something? How do you, respond when people ask you about your situation? Do you kind of change it up a bit or do you kind of have the same kind of response?
Oh no. Yeah. Obviously time and place, right?
Yeah.
And also tone affects me well. Like if somebody comes at me with a genuine look and I feel like they're really empathetic about my situation, I give them an honest answer.
Yeah.
But if they come at me with a judgmental tone or, it's too out of the ordinary, I'm in the middle of Target or somewhere, I'll give them a very abbreviated story.
Or something completely off the walls that's
like,
total bullshit.
Like I was, I bought my niece a kitten one time and that cat ran up the tree and I had to come be Mr. Hero and save the cat. And unfortunately the branch broke right as I reached out for the cat and I fell right on my head and broke my neck.
Yeah, man. For sure.
That sucks, man. Yeah.
Happens.
It happens though, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But it, that's where it comes from both sides too. And
That's such a terrible story.
No, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Cause I think what I get tired of is even when I tell them the real story, it's that pause.
Yeah.
That awkward 30-second pause of this person thinking about like, what is, because they're trying to figure out their appropriate reaction to my story. You know, and a lot of times there's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Right.
Like, where do you go from that?
Yeah.
Where do you go from that when you get that reaction? What do you say? How do you
Yeah, I try and, be real about it, but pivot to how it's, changed me for the better.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much of people's reactions are them thinking, oh shit, this could happen to me.
Yeah.
And so I, don't want people to automatically just think the worst about the situation, because there are very tough, aspects to this. And obviously, there's some pain that comes along with it. But, I also like to highlight the points that have allowed us to transform and, grow our perspective and, do things we haven't done before. But, when it comes to just like everyday conversations and talking with people, what kind of questions are you asking? Is it just like, hey, this weather's kind of crazy? Or do you really dig in to find out like what someone's going through, how you can help them? Is there meat to it?
Yeah. First thing you want to do is there's a series of questions people always find themselves asking. It's the weather. What do you do for work? And usually it's like where you're from. Yeah. And the problem with this is, okay, the weather is very general. Except if the weather we're having recently, it's like an inferno out there. Yeah. The problem is when you ask somebody what they do for work, it's like you're literally going to judge them based on what they say.
Yeah.
Good or bad. Someone tells you either way, you might not know their field. So it's an awkward question. And where you're from, no one's going to tell you, oh, I'm from Florida and I've made my way to California via this. It's just not it's a hard conversation to build off of.
For sure. One thing, like immediately when you talk to me about like, what do you do? I feel like while that is surface, it also, lends itself to being something that you could dive deeper into. Like what led you to do that? Like, what has your path been like? Like how has business changed, since, COVID hit and things like that you could really start diving into. And those are the kinds of questions that we want you to start thinking about. Not just asking about others, but how you respond to people's questions about, how if they are giving you the small talk, how can you shift the conversation to bring more value out of it? Not just, for yourself, but for them as well, because I think others who see that and, are, maybe just lending an ear to the conversation can, realize that and be like, wow, like this is actually going somewhere that it didn't seem like it was going to.
I'll add two more to that too, of not to ask. Religion and politics are definitely do not go there.
2020?
Right? Definitely do not go towards those subjects right now or ever really. I just feel like those are the most emotional of them all. And if you get into those subjects, they're really hard to navigate through without people really getting emotional about it.
Which is sad, because, as adults, we should be able to have civil discourse no matter what, your beliefs are, and not, come from a place of judgment and projecting that onto other people. And so keep that in mind if it gets brought up and someone does have emotion about it. And I think, also that makes you think too about like the way that you feel about things. What are your convictions towards certain, topics like this? And what do you believe? Are these, talking points that you've just heard on TikTok, or are these things that you've dug into and believe, So, it's great to, speak from a place of facts instead of feelings and, but just always being mindful of other people and trying to be respectful,
I think what's cool though, that I think people should take more advantage of is if you're in a situation with somebody that's different than you are, these are opportunities that you shouldn't let go by to learn more about that person or about their background. An example of this that I took advantage of the other day was I was talking to one of the coaches out there, the head coach, and he was asking me, how can we get you to move around on this field better? Because the turf's like real thick carpet, and he's asking me, like, how does your body work? What are you working as you push your chair? And I found this is a great opportunity to educate somebody.
Yeah.
So after practice was over, I went to the coach's office. I sat in another chair. I said, go ahead and jump in, take a ride. Figured it.
Yeah, for sure.
So he like jumped in. He's like, oh, okay. All right. A lot of triceps there, shoulders and things like that. But it was a teaching opportunity I took advantage of. I mean, sometimes we could, get like defensive or, be deflective. But instead I felt like this was a golden opportunity for me to educate somebody on what it's like to be in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? So if you're around somebody that you want to know more about, obviously stay away from some of the more delicate questions, but it's also a great opportunity to ask some really cool, interesting questions too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never thought about that. And I mean, you being able to transfer in and out, like,
Yeah,
that was a really cool opportunity to show him. And, now he has firsthand understanding of what you're going through. And now he's going to start thinking differently.
But have you ever thought too, like, even when you can't maybe get out of your chairs frequently as mine, I know you have extra wheelchairs. Have you ever thought about maybe making a girlfriend jump in a wheelchair? Or if your friends or over buddies keep asking you questions, you ever thought of maybe putting your friend in a wheelchair? Because I have recently, after that experience, I have an extra chair and I'm like, next time I'm around somebody that asks me frequently questions or at my house, or, maybe even throwing a girlfriend in the wheelchair just to kind of show them what it's like.
Yeah. No, I really haven't. I mean, have I thought about putting friends in wheelchairs? I mean, by kicking their ass, like, if they bother me enough, but, no, I would never. But, what I try and do, because so much of, my experience now has to be communicated to others about, what I need and, even how I feel, just so they can respond to things. So instead of like trying to give them the firsthand experience, in being in the chair, I try and communicate things very in detail. Gotcha. It's made me more observant. And I think because I can communicate that clearly and do so from a place that's authentic, it's not like, demanding.
Right.
I think that changes people's perspective. Similar how your coach now has an idea of what it's like firsthand to be in the chair. I think for me, communicating from an effective and authentic place now kind of sits in the minds of people differently, so that when they move forward in other situations, other things, they look at things differently, because it's like, wait, so Marty was going through this and he explained that this was the problem, or this is how it felt. So now when they see things, it's totally different. And one thing I can relate to that now is a time when, we're back in the past trying to book hotel rooms or an Airbnb. Just typically any hotel room always works, right? Like, it doesn't even matter. As long as you got somewhere to freaking lay down, you're in good to go. Place to go to the bathroom, shower, you're good. But when you travel with someone in a wheelchair now, you start seeing all these little things, like the threshold to the shower, the width of the doorway, the height of the toilet, the height of the mattresses, like, stairs, and there's all these things that start popping up in people's heads now as you travel together, you communicate, and you talk about these things. So that's like where small talk just it just ruins like future situations for people. It's not just the conversation in the moment itself, but it's about the way people think moving forward, and then how they pay it forward in future conversations, future situations. So just by avoiding, just dumb little chit chat, you can really make big differences, I think.
So I prepared some questions that you can ask somebody upon first meeting them. Now, some of these questions you might think, oh, that's silly.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, though, it could spark a different conversation that you typically would have had, and they're kind of fun too. They're interesting. But I listened to a recent, somebody else's podcast, and I got this. Let's see here. If your younger self met you today, what would make him sad? What would make him happy?
Whoa.
It's deep.
That is deep. Wow.
Yeah.
Are you asking me?
I'm asking you, yeah.
If my younger self met me today, what would make them sad and what would make them happy?
Yeah.
Well, younger me would be sad, obviously, that I wouldn't be able to partake in all the physical activities.
Absolutely.
It seems obvious, but younger me only thought physically about the world and wasn't so much about being cerebral and intellectual and, thinking of others in the broad perspective of things. It was just like, how can I do this and how can I do that? So in that part, that make them sad. But I think seeing, the fact that we have, or I have been able to overcome such obstacles, and that there's hope that no matter what it is that you're going through, like, you can still achieve great things, as long as, you get your headspace and your motivation, your focus, all in the right place, and continue to surround yourself with good people. I think that's one thing that younger me would be happy, to see, is that, my family is still strong and supporting me. I have great friends and people around, and, that were, helping others through all this. Younger me would probably be like, damn boy, who's your girlfriend? I'm like, I don't know, bro, but but
I'm not hurting in that situation.
I'm doing all right. Sure. Doing all right. Yeah. But yeah, that's a really cool thing to, consider, because like I said, I think it's not just the value it brings to the current conversation and situation, but like moving forward, it just changes the way people think, know?
Yeah, I think it gets the wheels turning a little bit on the conversation. Our situations might be a little bit more emotional, right?
Yeah.
But the typical person might actually have like a different answer that's not so emotional and maybe more fun,
Yeah. Don't mind it. Don't mind it.
Yeah, it's okay.
We got podcast dogs.
Yeah.
Dogs make noise. They do things.
They're good.
Yeah.
For me, I think my younger self would be totally stoked on the fact that, of owning a home and some coaching football and, being on a couple commercials on TV and things like that. It goes without saying he'd be sad about the whole wheelchair thing, that's an obvious thing.
Yeah.
But I think my younger self will kind of dig the fact that we're put in this situation, but yet we found things that are still positive and we're still living life.
Yeah, man.
And definitely just the fact that I think my younger self really needed to always be around people. My older, more mature, kind of relaxed self's definitely comfortable in his own space and own skin. So that's definitely probably the outlook my younger self would have. The second question I have for you is, what situations now make you awkward?
What situations make me awkward now?
Yeah.
Man. I think situations when I'm caught on my heels, like right now.
Okay.
But it's hard to feel that awkward anymore because I've been through so much.
Okay.
I think anytime
nothing makes you feel awkward.
No, I think when it's awkward is when I truly know that I'm in the wrong. And just that process of swallowing my pride and owning up to it, but it's awkward, but it's necessary, and it's something I'm comfortable with now.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's like the only thing that I really truly feel awkward about, just that I can think of.
Gotcha.
What about you? I want to flip that back over to you as well.
Honestly, it's really hard to get me to feel awkward in any situation. It's really, really tough. I think the thing I feel most awkward about now is being kind of like unprepared.
Yeah.
Like if I go and I'm doing something and I'm just not prepared, like I'm not dressed right. I haven't like maybe studied some lines, or, I'm just not 100%. The second part of that awkwardness is, I think sometimes I feel awkward when I'm in a confined place.
Yeah.
And I can't like move my chair around, or like I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Like I went through a furniture store like a couple weeks ago, and like literally like every turn it was a maze.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That
for sure. I can totally agree with that. And what makes me feel awkward now that I'm thinking about it too is, besides this show and my dog running around everywhere.
You mouthing directions in the background.
Yeah. It's okay. We cut those out.
Yeah.
No, I think when I really feel awkward are times when, again, it's a place of guilt where I think either my body's in a bad place, and I'm really needy,
Yeah.
and I'm coming from a place of pain and struggle.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be a burden to the people that are helping me and the people that love me.
Right.
I think that's an awkward place for me because it's a constant battle between what can I take, like what kind of pain can I put myself through until
Right.
I finally buckle and want to get that pain or struggle
Oh,
alleviated.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Because I think it's a fine line between trying not to overexhaust those that are willing to help you and work with you, versus gaining your own independence and what can I take, what can I do on my own.
Right.
I think that struggle, it's healthy, but it is a struggle.
Yeah. It's awkward when you have special needs. I feel awkward sometimes when I go to like somebody's house for the first time and there's maybe 3 or 4 steps and no ramp. I was just at somebody's barbecue the other day and like it was so hot outside that I asked, hey, is it cool if I go inside? And it was outdoor barbecue.
Yeah.
Those are situations where I'm like, yeah, a little awkward, but I've kind of learned to cannonball into them. Like if the more I lean into it, it's actually, thank God I asked. The more I shy away from it and I kind of like, kind of barely get into it, I think I leave feeling more awkward because I know it's more noticeable on my part.
You know what though? Those are the situations too though that allow us to grow deeper in relationships because it forces you out of that comfort zone of like, look, I need to educate someone on my situation to let them know that there's something that can be done to help me and make it better.
Absolutely.
Like I know we've been in this situation before when the person that was helping me wasn't around, but I need to go to the bathroom and I need to have somebody help me out.
Yeah.
And while that person was completely willing, able, trusting, there was just that little educational piece from my side.
Yeah.
That didn't want to just stick to the surface bullshit because I had like a real thing going on that I needed to.
Yeah.
So that's something else to consider too, is like, when to like gauge when it's necessary to take that conversation to a deeper, or take that relationship with a friend or caregiver to a deeper place because you need to be helped.
No, I agree. It's tough because I think we're still navigating through some of the awkwardness.
Yeah.
But what a great question that is to ask somebody.
Yeah.
When's the last time you felt awkward? You know what I mean? And transitioning into another question is, when's the last time you told a lie, and would you do it again?
Man, that's a good one.
It's a tough one.
Yeah. Would you tell the same lie again? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All lies are bad. Even if well-intentioned, like white lies.
Yeah.
Because that's another comfort zone, which is, trying to get uncomfortable situations to be more comfortable.
Yeah.
When really you should challenge yourself to provide authentic feedback or truthful feedback that would do justice and, help the other person out.
Right.
Even if it puts you in a tougher situation, there's times to gauge. I mean, like, there's that funny commercial with like Abraham Lincoln never told a lie.
Yeah.
Do I look fat in this dress? And he's like, maybe just a,
Yeah.
and she slaps and walks out. There's like, there's times and places, right? For certain situations, but it's also just, oh no, we got dog crazy in here.
Wow.
This is puppy podcast today. That was a
I
tough
didn't think
one,
he had it in him on that one.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't know right now, his dog navigated through some heavy wires that hold the camera, mics, everything together.
Oh yeah.
And he's an old guy.
We're doing the obstacle course.
Man, that was actually good for you, noobs.
Yeah. So, challenging situations.
Yeah.
Trying to keep your focus, all these sorts of things, right?
Definitely tough. For me, I used to tell a lot more white lies.
Yeah.
It was mostly because I never wanted people to feel bad on account of me.
Yeah.
And now every now and then, like I'll navigate and I'll, sugarcoat a few things. It's usually when I'm lazy and I don't want to have the conversation, because you can tell the truth sometimes, but it's going to lead into a conversation. And there's just sometimes I just don't have the energy for it.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not, have to go through it. So, I hate to admit this on air, man, but I tell fibs every now and then for sure.
Podcast ran super late.
Yeah.
Maybe had a couple beers with the boys and watched the Laker game.
Maybe.
But no, and the whole thing is surrounding small talk, right? And
Yeah.
how can we bring value to conversations, relationships, business?
I got one more for you.
Yeah. All right. Hit me before I try and wrap it up.
One more before we wrap this up. What is like, this is good for quarantine and everything we're going through now. The last purchase you had that you regret?
Who?
Something that you just bought because you're bored or, because of everything that's going on. I know there's a lot of people out there right now that have had bad purchases on Amazon.
Oh, dude, I've been buying a lot of gun stuff recently.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like my new therapy, the pew therapy.
Did you buy us a new scope that's like completely ridiculous?
I did, but I don't regret it at all. Do I get the price tag a bit? Yeah, but it's gonna last a long time. No, man, I think something that I regret is just like one of like the impulse buys, which is something that is there's a lot of things that we do out of want instead of need, but it's just because it's there, and it feels like you got taken advantage of because you didn't even do the research. You're like, oh, this is so cool, yes, buy. Yeah. And it's like, why am I such a robot and like a victim to targeted advertising right now? It's like it's just like you want to take time and think about things and do your research and make sure everything is the right quality, the right everything that you want. Is it something that I'm genuinely going to use, or are you just a victim to the impulse buy? Like I know there's a t-shirt I was like, oh, such a sick design, yes, do it now. And I got it. It was like the worst quality shirt, and it's just like I took a size smaller because they were like out of the one that I actually wear. And it's like so stupid. Just like have some patience and like stick around and see if they replenish later. But yeah, it's just that I think the impulse buy would be the regret versus something that is more expensive that hurts a little bit, but something that you generally are looking forward to that can help. Because I will say, just with quarantine and like not being able to go to live sporting events and concerts, things like that, like I needed something. Like I'm hurting for an outlet these days, and like
100%.
I'm sure a lot of you guys are going through the same thing. Like a lot of our outlets right now are taken away from us. Like I can't even go to the gym and do shows, like even going out to bars or games, like all of this, all of my usual coping mechanisms are gone right now. So if you could find something productive to do, I definitely all for it.
See, the thing is though, as we wrap this up, those questions, look how much you learned about us in a short period of time.
Right.
20, 30 minutes, we asked questions that weren't surface. We didn't talk about the weather today. We didn't talk about, where we grew up, even though that's kind of a cool question you ask later on. But we asked kind of funky questions, but look how much you learned about us.
Yeah.
So I think what we're really trying to get across here is that we've definitely flourished in getting to know a lot of people more quickly because we've kind of skated over all those basic questions and dug a little deeper. So we encourage you guys to do the same in your friendships, relationships, coworkers. And it doesn't have to be directly personal, but even, hey, when's the last time you told a lie? And just think about the reaction or just about what will come out of that person's mouth. Way more interesting than saying, hey, do you like this hot weather?
Yeah. And you know what I noticed too? I mean, think of both the questions you had asked me. I had to pause and think.
Yeah.
It actually forced me to think deeply about who I am, like how I felt about certain situations.
And you actually thought I cared.
Yeah.
Right? That's acting 101 right there, fellas.
There you go, right?
I don't give a shit.
This guy, book him, guys.
Yeah, but if someone asked you that the first time they met you, you think they actually care about getting to know you as well.
Right. Absolutely. So you never know who you're going to be speaking to, how they can impact your life, how you can impact theirs.
Yeah.
So moving from the small talk instead of being all talk, think deeper, think more genuine, being authentic, and really try and bring some value to some conversations. So,
I agree. So we're going to end this by saying, get rid of small talk and start doing some wheel talk.
Hey, baby.
There it is, fellas.
We're just wheel guys having wheel conversations. Yeah, man.
Just meals on wheels, baby.
All right, guys. We will see you next week. Time. We love you.